All right, we're gonna call the regular meeting to order at 7:01 and ask Jim Stewart to lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
Jimmy, pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Yeah, well, I was saying to myself, should ask my sister this.
All right, item 3.
The motion that the board of mayor Burgess approve the minutes of the regular meeting February 7th, 2023, and special meeting of February 23rd, 2023.
All right, any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion the board of mayor Burgess approve the monthly reports of February. Each member receives copies for review. Second.
Questions? All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Delayed reaction. Good, easier with the reaction. All right, so, well, I don't think it'll be as long as usual, no guarantees. It looks to me like, mostly regular business. So, secondly, everyone has been following the great progress at the skateboard park. Barring some horrible weather, it will be opening in April. There will be a grand opening and a celebration of some sort. But also, I want people to know, especially you, Andreas, that we're also now, the park department is finishing our disc golf course. And we expect, the only thing really left to do is to make a map on our GIS so we can have scorecards and a map. So we expect that we will also be opening that in April. It is rated as, I'm going to say beginner to intermediate course. Some of the holes are pretty easy. Some of them are a little more challenging. If you're not too good, they're all challenging. We also, once we iron out all the kinks, I think I'll say next year, we have room to do an additional 9 holes. And we probably will. And the objective would be to make that course intermediate to challenging. So we would have something for everyone. But it's pretty interesting. If you go up there, they'll be putting up the T markers and the hole markers soon. But go behind the dog park, heading towards the community garden, heading out into the big open field, and the woods surrounding it is pretty much where it is. So it looks like it'll be a lot of fun. Thirdly, we've been getting inquiries on the splash pad spray park. So just to be clear, the street department, the engineering department is still designing it. Once it's designed, it'll go to land use. And it will, the money is set aside. So it will be ready for construction toward the end of this calendar year. And there've been a lot of questions about that. Also, we are applying for a grant and an earmark from our federal delegation to upgrade all of our parks and, to get a lot of the improvements of all of our town parks. So we'll keep you posted on that. So those are my opening comments, and we will now go to public comment. So anyone, let's start with in the room. but also anyone on Zoom who wants to make a public comment, raise your hand, go in the chat box, or someone will make it known to, Francis Ford Caliparides over there that you would like to speak. First call. Second call. Last call for public comment. All right, let's take a monthly report from Kyle Kelly and Ken Hanks on the NAC. Kyle?
Good evening, everybody. I don't know if I actually sent you folks a report. I apologize. I will send it. I'll share my screen briefly. So far, so good for the year. We've been doing pretty good. Last month was a little bit slower than other months, which is obviously good for most people. We've seen a little bit of a decrease in our mutual aid response into Waterbury, but we have seen a little bit of an uptick going into other surrounding communities. We are battling a couple of little ambulance mechanical issues, which we're working through, getting things back in order. But other than that, we're out there doing it, and we appreciate all of the support. If you have any questions, I'm here.
All right, any questions for Kyle? All right, hearing none. Item 8, revaluation phase in. So I've been putting this on the agenda every month, and I'll continue to put it on the agenda every month until we get further along in the process. We're going through the budget process now. Reval is going through the Board of Assessment appeal process starting tonight. We'll have a much better grip on where we are before the budget is adopted. But I just want to keep reminding people that that prior to adopting the budget, this board will make a decision on whether or not we're going to phase in reval. As I said before, I'm in favor of a phase in, and when we have some more information, I'll be tossing out a couple of scenarios. You know, there could be a 5-year plan, there could be a 4-year plan. You could do a little more in the beginning. You know, there's a lot of ways to look at it. I think the fairest way to do it is to have the biggest increase in year 1 and then spread out the rest of it over an additional 3 or 4 years. Remember, there are people, especially in industry and commercial people, who want to see reval implemented all at once because they're going to get a significant decrease in their taxes. And there are homeowners who want to delay it as long as possible. So, and I think I said this before, but I'll say it again. I play with the preliminary numbers all the time. My feeling today, which would change, is I like 40, 20, 20, 20, which would mean that in the first year, 40% of the new increase in value would be implemented, 60% would be deferred. So if your tax bill, say, were to go up, I'll just say $600, without regard to spending, just with regard to valuation, that would mean it would go up $240 in year 1 and $120 for the next 3 years and nothing in year 5. So you could do the math on any scenario. That's sort of a compromise scenario. But, you know, every, you know, there's a lot of scenarios. So I guess for now, I want everyone to be thinking about it. So, when we get to that point, we'll be, educated, informed, and we'll make a good decision.
We still have the ability to review the market value of the properties after year one.
Yeah, so I review them every month. Values are still going up, even almost as much as before. The difference is that there are just far less sales. But that's a good thing to do, is anyone who wants to see the current sales every month, you'll see that the properties are selling above the 2022 assessed values. Will that go on forever? Probably not. Where is it gonna go? No one knows. Remember, we have to make a decision, and when we do, we can also do additional revals. In other words, there's a minimum time period, but you can also do them more often. So, I'm not really worried about a significant decline because we can address it. But right now, I think there's a perception that values are going down, and the reverse is true.
So will the assessor be able to tell residents up front, here's how much it's gonna be year 1, 2, 3, 4? So I know what it's gonna be over the next 4 years.
So yes, and we could do that right now for reval numbers only. Remember, we haven't done the budget yet.
Right.
So here's the scenario. New revenue goes up 1.2 million, expenses go up 2 million. So you're up $800,000, okay? So you need to know that number to plug it in.
Sure.
But right now, anyone in Naugatuck can get on the portal, we have a portal, their number, and many people have as to where you are right now. And we've been getting calls like that from day one. Anyone, any questions or comments on reval? So I'm gonna keep it here. We'll talk about it every month. It's March, so we're not that far away. So I'm gonna say in the beginning of May is probably around the time we'll have to make a decision.
Well, I like the idea you're phasing. I think it's a good idea. I think it's fair across the board, even though the business might not like it, but for the residents, I believe it's a fair prospect.
I agree. I agree with Mike said it should be phased in, period. And if it goes sideways, if it really goes down bad and the bubble bursts, then we're gonna have to do another reval. Cause it's you're gonna push a lot of people out of town over this.
Okay, so if there's no further questions, we'll go to item 9. So let's all remember that the state of Connecticut has mandated that every town create a fair rent commission. So Attorney Fitzpatrick, and it has to be done by ordinance, and there will be a public hearing on the ordinance. So Attorney Fitzpatrick has drafted a proposed ordinance. He's going to present it. We can talk about it tonight. We're going to set a date for a public hearing. And during that period, any Burgess can ask questions at the public hearing. Any citizen can participate and ask questions. And then probably at our next meeting, we'll have a public hearing. If everything is clear, we could adopt it then. If there are questions, we will continue to work on it until we get it to where we want it. So Attorney Fitzpatrick, why don't you explain the ordinance?
Good evening, Mayor, everybody. Nice to see everybody again. Everybody out there in the Zoom world. So as Mayor indicated.
Hi, Ned.
The legislature requires that municipalities adopt fair rent commissions. And so I've had, I want to give credit to Lori Rotella. A lot of the lead in doing some of the research, various towns along with me, and she's been very helpful. So when we put together the ordinance, it's probably the shortest ordinance I've ever drafted, but essentially what it does is all the provisions are required by state law. One of the elected provisions that the borough has is that we can decide how many members you want. Now, where Lori was very helpful was in informing me of some of the difficulties she's had finding members to serve on the land use board. And she has quite a few vacancies. Our concern was that if we make the board, we make a 5-man or a 7-man board, you need 4 per quorum for a 7-man, you need 3 per quorum for 5-man fair rent commission. And again, fair rent commission, as you can plainly read there, I don't need to read it for you, but fair rent commission will decide whether or not the rents charged are, meet the market or you're being excessive. And so that's what any tenant can file that complaint and have a hearing if he wants, and that's what the purpose of the board did. And back to the numbers, our sense was that, and again, it's just a proposal, we'll leave that up to you and the members of the public after the public hearing, how you want to do it. What I thought was that a 3-member board might be sufficient, similar to the zoning board of appeals, I believe is 3. Again, because of the difficulty in trying to find members. And we designated a landlord, a tenant member, at least one of each, and then third member can be from of any designation occupation. Again, the minority representation statute applies. Again, meaning you can't have more than 2/3 of one political party. That's matters. Again, standard stuff. Everybody's aware of here. So there's nothing mysterious about the ordinance, but the real question I would have, first just think that is the numbers. If you think it should be more than 3, you can make it 4, you can make it 5, you can make it 6, you can 7.
I think 3 is adequate.
We need 3 good ones, so.
Well, and one has to be a landlord, one has to be a tenant. And I've already been asking around for land use staff if they know of any people have been interested in some of the land use positions that may not be available as members.
Well, let's say this publicly, if there are people who are interested, they should make it known and they'll be considered. There's a lot of power, a lot of commissions don't have much power. This commission has a lot of power and we need people who won't abuse it, but will follow the rules and do things fairly. So people who are familiar with real estate values and rents, who have knowledge would be good. I guess one on the landlord side, one on the tenant side, one in the middle.
Well, I think it should be 5. I think it should be 5 at least. And I'll volunteer for one of them.
Let me ask this question. Can a Burgess serve?
There's no prohibition in this statute. The ordinance was written after statute. I'll have to
Well, just check to make sure.
I'll check the charter to make
There's no prohibition that can, so I would say, let's check and make sure.
Well, I'll check that.
And I have a question you probably can't answer yet. Some of the criteria to determine excessive rent are quite subjective. If you've got one that says sanitary conditions, that seems something more for the health department.
So, yes.
You've got something that says are they in compliance with the ordinances. I mean, that's either zoning or some other,
No, there's health
that are the
ordinance.
experts.
There's health ordinances too, and so what we've seen in other towns, the health, if there's a sanitary condition in an apartment. Sometimes the local, the city or town health department, or maybe or district will go and inspect. And they issue a report as what the conditions are. If there's a claim that the rent is being increased excessively. Especially in view of not just the market, but in view of the conditions of the apartment, that's something the tenant can raise. And that's where that information will be derived.
So is there some kind of a scoring rubric for this? I mean, it really looks subjective on.
Agree. I'm agree.
Well, I would say, Rocky, that I agree with your assessment, but that makes it more important that we get smart people with knowledge to be on the commission.
Yeah.
I got a question too.
Yeah.
So one of there's no doubt that there are what we call bad tenants, right? There are people who just trash the place. And one of the moves that landlords use sometimes is to raise the rent to not only pay for the repairs to the damage of the place and to get that bad tenant out. So is this in a sense going to handcuff them from being able to do that?
It may, if the conditions are such that the panel determines that the rent has been increased excessively in light of the conditions that are presented in the tenancy.
Well, let me add this, that what you're talking about is also covered in landlord tenant law. So there's a whole different arena for that. This in general is
And that's kind
whether
of,
the rent is at the right level. I would hope.
and that's kind of what I was driving at. I know that that law is in place, but you know, is this also going to play a factor into that? In that landlord tenant agreement?
This will control the increases, whether or not the increase is valid. If the increase is deemed valid and the rent isn't being paid, then the eviction proceeds. I mean, it'll proceed anyway. It's just a question whether the rent is deemed to be a valid increase. And by the way, we're seeing it, you probably read it in Beacon Falls, that there's been with the, I think it was the mobile home park, I think it was one of the widespread, or the widely noticed issues, and there'll be other instances as time goes on. That's what being seen out there.
Yeah, and then, did this legislation actually pass up in Hartford yet?
Yeah.
It did, because my son mentioned today that something had to do with renters and landlords is killed in committee.
This wasn't.
This
So
passed.
this was it.
This has been adopted, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's every year your son will tell you, there's 75 presentations of
Yeah.
legislation on both sides of this issue.
Okay, thank you.
A smart landlord's gonna get a good lawyer. Put this in the lease. That we can raise the rent if that's a legal issue.
Well, Mayor, I can see scenarios, that you were talking about and subjective, and it absolutely is. Sometimes you could have unsanitary conditions that are caused by the tenant. As opposed to caused by the landlord. And it goes both ways. So, if the landlord is raising the rent because, unsanitary conditions that he or she has to take care of because the tenant presented, then it might not be unfair to raise the rent, and you can see it the other way also. So, and I would imagine, if you have a commission like that, like this, there could be other people brought in if you're having a hearing, like the building inspector, the fire marshal and so forth, that are the experts.
In other towns where, Cheshire and other places, a lot of communities have adopted.
Yeah.
These fair rates.
But
Yeah.
Fran, to your
They want to
Point.
be there.
the mayor, myself and Megan, because we're both board members for the Naugatuck Valley Health District, get letters all the time with violations from landlords and restaurants, which sometimes upset me, actually. So that point's covered from the health district perspective. So I don't think there's a problem with landlords. I really don't, unless somebody complains, period.
Well, Jan, to your point, and to my point, you haven't been to some of the houses I've been in.
I've been in houses you've been in, Fran, trust me.
All right, so Ned, who appoints the commissioners, the borough board?
Yes.
All right, so I would say that our biggest task here is to find some good people to
Great.
be on the commission. If we have good people, we'll have no problems. If we don't,
Great, and keeping
We'll hear
them,
about
and keeping them too, is keeping them
yeah,
interested and active is on board. This one. This is
All right,
gonna
so-
be a decision.
so let's stop here and let me entertain a motion that we set up a public hearing on this proposed fair rent commission ordinance for our next regular meeting, which will be the first Tuesday of April. Motion.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
So between now and then, anyone can analyze it, comment, investigate, think about members, and we'll have the public hearing. And you know, we can adopt it that night, or we can tweak it, modify it, research it further, do whatever is necessary.
Thank you.
Good. All right, so we're also gonna go through the same procedure with the cannabis ordinance. We've asked Attorney Fitzpatrick to draft a strict ordinance on strictly regulating the use of cannabis on borough property and in Naugatuck. So Attorney Fitzpatrick, why don't you present your ordinance and we can talk about it tonight. This will go on a similar path to fair rent. We'll set a date for a public hearing and we'll have plenty of time to modify it, tighten it up, do whatever it takes. So, tell us where we are.
All right, thank you very much. Again, record that Patrick Borough Council. So the, as everybody knows, you know, the legislature not only made cannabis legal, but gave authority to the municipalities to regulate its location, its use, its location, the types of uses that may be entertained in a municipality. And the first portion of the regulations contains the definitions which have been established by state law, and that goes to page 3. And those definitions, and I was asked, we talked about this, by the way, with the subcommittee, and I'll thank them. This is Jan, Dorothy Neptune, and Fran Dabrowski were on the subcommittee. And we did meet and discuss along with you know, email discussions, but as a group we met and went over this subject matter of both the definitions and also the proposed ordinance. So, but by the definitions, those are all the different types of, you know, first definition of cannabis establishment. All you'll see the rest are the types of licenses that are allowed or the persons that are allowed to deliver the products. The section 1.3 was one of the questions the commission, the member subcommittee discussed about how many retailers that the borough should have or could have. The legislature doesn't limit the amount. I think the intention was to leave it up to municipalities to make that determination. The subcommittee recommended 2 retails. You can see that in section 1.3, 1-3A. The second part of that section deals with the opening of these facilities. Now, I'm not sure if there's as much hoopla back around surrounding the openings of the cannabis facilities as there used to be. But there used to be so sort of dramatic and novel and such a crowd pleaser that there needed to be excessive police coverage associated with these openings. So the legislature authorized the municipalities to sort of tax the entity not to exceed $50,000 for public safety costs, for purpose of really to direct traffic and control the traffic going in and out of a location. So that's also in section 1.3. The section 1.4 is what we try to do to restrict where the products may be used or consumed. And that includes all land or owned or controlled by the borough. By the way, and not just owned, but controlled was the additional term. Yeah.
Question on this one, section 1.4,
Sure.
section B, actually, of that. Consumption of cannabis and cannabis products shall not occur at any outdoor dining establishment. Should that not say any indoor/outdoor?
Well, they're not allowed indoor by state law. We want to make it clear that when you're outdoors, you're not, you don't escape the indoor prohibition. So the subcommittee did talk about that as well.
Okay.
Again, this is just like the fair rent. This is a proposal, and it's fair comment for everybody to take a look at this and make some input, and then certainly we'll go to the public hearing. We'll take it in the ordinary course.
I just didn't know if it needed to actually say.
So again, with a lot of this stuff, cannabis especially is really, the state has preempted, they call it preempted the field with the exception of the things they let the municipalities do. So these are the things that we have some say. Okay? And in addition, look at C, where it gives the borough board the authority to designate a place where public consumption is allowed. Now, you don't have to do that, but at least grant you the authority. You may get a petition that, there's a borough spot where you want to have it, and you may decide.
So we have this ordinance, like this potential ordinance, but then. I'm just like, how do you enforce all of this? Like, we're gonna have the police like walking. They've got way bigger, I do think that there should be restrictions 100%. But it's like, you're already so busy, and then we're gonna be like, go tell that guy he can't smoke on the green.
Great. So here's that's a dilemma that is been well pronounced everywhere. I'm not sure there's a really good answer to that. The obvious, your question is rhetorical, obviously. But the issue there is there are further in the ordinance, there are enforcement provisions, and you'll see that by law, the police are the ones to enforce it under the statute, also under this ordinance. Okay. There are fines that are established by the legislature, and they understood this would be difficult to enforce. The way I read some of their background discussions. And by the way, this was proposed before just this year. Cannabis proposals have been kicked around legislature for quite a number of years. And you'll see that's in section 1.5, by the way. So you just preempted my next paragraph specification. And sure, but should the chief comment on this? Yeah, I think so. But it's obvious. It's obvious.
Can I interject, Ned? I thought in 1-3 in section C, we said the mayor and board of Burgesses may no later than the effective date of this chapter designate a place or places within the borough where in public consumption of cannabis and cannabis products through smoking, vaping, or the consumption of edibles is permitted. The designated place or places shall contain multilingual signage that clearly delineates the hours during which such consumption is permitted. And we deleted the last sentence. So that's not in 1-3, you moved it?
sorry, I'm not sure.
1-4.
1-4, yeah,
See,
1-4 C.
It's ready for bid.
Okay,
But then I do have a question. We were talking about the idea of the smoking indoors versus outdoors, and we know in you know, pubs around town, you can't smoke inside, but private clubs you can. How do we govern an Elks Club, a Portuguese Club, an Eagles Club, a Polish Club? What are their rights as to allowing indoor smoking or even outdoor smoking on their facilities if they're not private?
I mean, you're allowed, so let me step back. If you do not, if the zoning commission didn't adopt some regulatory controls over this, cannabis consumption, retail, so forth, would be governed by our alcohol law. So that's one of the first reasons, Megan, by the way, we need to have some controls.
Yeah.
So the zoning did that. The next part of the control step, or an additional part, is really a parallel track, is the ordinance. And with respect to private clubs, I believe everybody has the private right to use cannabis and not only use it, but grow it and possess it. So I think that's a tough road for enforcement, but I'd like to hear the chief's comment on that, Charlie, because these are we're going down a new path here, but I think that the sense is that there's been some experiences from some of the other states, specifically Massachusetts, which has been ongoing for a while, and I would think that the chief would be better directly.
Gotcha. So kind of we've seen Connecticut roll on is, I'd say now one of numerous states now that legalized it. Some of the challenges generally been more related to traffic enforcement. The biggest issue is that there's not an easy way to conduct a roadside sobriety test for marijuana. That technology hopefully at some point will come along. So the issue is what the level of impairment is at that point when the subject is operating their vehicle. That was a huge challenge that Colorado encountered as one of the first states that legalized it. So there's been some attempts at cheek swabs, things like that, could give a level out of the roadside to determine that. The issue is with urine samples is that it remains in the body for days, weeks, sometimes months afterwards. So although somebody could have could have cannabis on board their system in the urine sample, it doesn't necessarily support that they were impaired at that point along the traffic stop. As far as the ordinance here in town, the only concern or only point that I would have is, I believe it's 4-1 is a borough ordinance that dictates public consumption of alcohol. I believe that 4-1 would be the best model in terms of that, which this seems to mirror. That has generally prohibited public or open consumption of alcohol in borough locations, borough public lands. So the officers can utilize their state infraction books citing the borough ordinance and issue an infraction for a complaint. For example, somebody consuming marijuana on the green or smoking it there. That may help alleviating like the quality of life issues. Something that we're going to encounter is the same way somebody's out walking with their family, they don't want their kids to be there, seeing somebody bring alcohol on the green any more than they want to see somebody smoking marijuana cigarette out on the green either. And I don't think that's the environment we want to have in our public spaces here in the community. So my response would be we'll take the same enforcement action within those situations. I think moving forward, that's there's definitely going to be a challenge for this. The pushback from users is going to be, well, it's legal now, but it's legal doesn't mean it's not regulated. So I think that getting that messaging out there is going to help us.
well, I think like some other ordinances, this is just another tool for you to use. You're not gonna go running around looking for people all the time, but it's a tool if you need it.
Right. Maybe Chief. So I hope that
Ned, can I ask a question before you get too far into this? 1-4C said the mayor shall no later than the effective date. We changed that to the mayor and the board of Burgesses. Do you have that on your copy?
I did,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, we changed. that.
Okay, okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, so, I go to 1.5, we were just talking about that with Megan. So that recitement, it's poignant because it's, as the chief was saying about, they'll have their citation books, the police will, they'll issue a ticket for someone who's smoking on the green. Chief, you know what, I'll probably see it before you do, by the way, if it happens, but, you know, I mean, it's just the way it is, and he's right, if someone's, you know, drinking, you know, a bottle of vodka on the green, that's, you know, they're violating the ordinance as well, their liquor ordinance. So, the other is that, so the other fine for the outdoor consumption is in there too. And again, the due process rights of individuals who are fined and issued tickets is also contained in 1.5, 1-5. So they have the right to appeal, just like they would under any other provision of the statute for which they're fined. So 1-6 is a little a different reporting requirement than we've seen in a lot of scenarios, but this one provides that the legislature does require this. There be a report prepared by the chief of police to the Board of Mayor Burgesses to allow to provide, you know, what information regarding how many arrests they've made, where it's happened, other issues regarding demographics, and any other information that's for you guys may ask the chief to do. So that'll help, I think, in determining whether there should be either additional enforcement, maybe enforcement power, maybe enforcement groupings by the chief, or maybe the borough wants to consider taking other action that is allowed by statute. So that is 1.6. 1.7 goes to the issue of the funding. So as you probably all know, the borough collects a fee, I believe it's 3% of the sale price of any of the products. And there's a fund that's supposed to be, that will be established by that, and this ordinance provides for that. And the funds are going to be set aside for use in accordance with the statute, which is for educational programs, youth employment and training programs, or for services for individuals in the borough who are released from DOC, custody, probation, or parole, mental health. This is all youth services bureaus, municipal juvenile review boards, and community civic engagement efforts. It's a pretty broad range of entities, but again, that's what happens when you're passing legislation. You're satisfying various interest groups. So it's really the fund is being established and spent for pretty much for public education and for other areas that are mentioned here. The section 1.8 provides that is the controller of the borough or a designee. So that would be, and again, you can change these designations if you want, but we've recommended that because there's going to be an account set up, there's going to be an account maintained, and there's going to be a reporting on that account that it be placed with the controller's office. So that's what we recommend. Again, decision to you. And again, that information has to be filed with the Department of Revenue Services. There's a registration requirement. And, you know, there's an accounting requirement to DRS. And the D outlines what the account will consist of. And what types of cannabis entities contribute to them. And I'm sure that DRS, I haven't looked, but I'm sure that DRS has established probably a format, some type of format. There's got to be a reporting form. I'm sure Allison can locate that. And the funds under E, the borough may invest the funds. There's no restriction on where the money gets invested. Based on what the borough does with its other general funds. And the use can only be for the uses provided in the ordinance. So that money can't be tapped by the borough for its operating expenses. It can't be tapped by the borough for, to, pay for, pay for another, ambulance. Can't be used for that purpose.
Can it be utilized for the DARE program?
Yeah, I would say that would qualify under the definition.
Who determines the percentage?
Oh. The percentage of
You said 3%
statute.
state?
Yep.
Okay.
The
So,
allocation of
so
that.
Ned, just so I'm clear, this money can only be spent in a very particular way, correct?
Yes. Yes, it's designated in the ordinance how the funds can be expended. It has to be for either, it can be for youth employment, it can be it can be also for streetscape, streetscape improvements. Youth training programs, I would say, Department of Children and Families type programs in what we have in the borough. Mostly for, and any type of drug prevention programs certainly are well recognized by the legislature that may be used for, along with the opioid. So, yeah, it's right. into
Okay,
the-
I'm good. I'm good. Go ahead.
This can still be edited and adjusted, right?
You
This
bet.
isn't locked in.
No.
Can we add, because they're not calling it DARE anymore, they're calling it community relations, right?
Yeah, I think.
Can we add that wording in there so that it can be utilized? I just don't want any,
If the program, here's the issue, if it's an ordinance and the program changes, then you have to amend the ordinance every time there's a new
Right.
program.
So don't put a specific name on it.
I recommend not
Okay.
putting it in there because isn't it for mental health or addiction services? Isn't that what isn't that one of their
You serve
Yeah,
the
sure.
goals, juvenile review board,
youth services?
community civic engagement efforts.
yeah, okay,
Yeah, I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I think the last one, this is broad as you could possibly.
yeah, that probably covers
Yeah.
it.
And what group would decide how those funds are allocated, since it's not a general fund type of thing? It would be us, not the finance board.
Right.
Can we have this multi-language sign in Italian?
Interestingly, it doesn't say
What
what
does it say?
multi-language
It's multi-language.
means. They don't say, they don't, in fact, the whole idea, of course, as you know, is to give due process, proper notice, and I assume it means, for our purposes, it should be Spanish. If you decide to do that, at least to start.
Are the fines also dictated by state statute?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
And my last question would be, is there a reason why we would even put more than one of these facilities in the borough?
I would say that, if you allow, by ordinance again, but it's up to you. For example, some of the communities, don't put a limit on it. Some communities such as, Norwalk has 3.
It's also a large.
Large
It's
city.
larger, right?
I mean, we've already had the mystery machine selling marijuana in parking lots, like, so I.
They're gonna do that regardless.
So there's 2, I think the thought,
The number will be picked by this group, whatever,
you guys decide that
this group wants, is what it'll be.
the current zoning part of it is that New Haven Road is a designated area and the industrial park. Or different. Those are the 2 areas.
No, well,
Again,
Ned, The way it works though is the industrial park was talked about being a growing area.
Right.
And then there were two retail areas on New Haven Road.
Right.
And one going one way, retail, and one going the other way is probably a good idea on New Haven Road, right?
Right, I mean, that, the idea was to have, I think that was your thought, right? I remember from our discussion that there was some thought about having one on each side of New Haven Road. It's not allowed by zoning on Rubber Avenue.
We wouldn't want it on Rubber
No, on New Haven Road,
Right, New Haven Road, right.
right, New Haven Road, yep.
Right, just trying to get the zoning.
So this doesn't limit cultivators, just retailers.
Oh,
Right, this is the, so where the rub always is, seems to be in all communities is retailers. And that's where the rub is in all the communities, is where can they sell to the public?
This doesn't talk about.
No, you can do, no, but the zoning will control where it could go, and that's in the zoning regs.
So let me ask you a question. The committee recommended two. Does anyone here want more or less than two?
I want less.
Less,
I want none. So
I'm with you.
There's three. I'm good with one.
let me ask you, school zone. How far is the school zone? Parameters from the school itself, number one.
Yeah.
And we indicated New Haven Road as being an area. So part of New Haven Road would be subject to nothing.
Right, I mean.
Crossway Plaza probably the desirable location, it's close enough to our school.
Which will not be.
That would be close, yeah, that would be the only one. But there are other places further away. The other thing
Yeah, so can I answer that question about the school? Yeah, absolutely. So it's 500 feet from any property line of any school.
500 feet?
That's what
That's
the,
it?
well, that's what the zoning ordinance says.
Between the residential area across the street,
The residential.
the cemetery,
It's not that far.
and the empty product, 500. Doesn't go that far.
No.
Not at all.
But it's also horizontal. It's a distance, it's the line difference from the property border, not the front door.
You know where my brain's going, like, I feel like that's so much that's alcohol, I feel like it's much more cut and dry than this, and a lot of these, I feel like a lot of these marijuana shops and things popping up are literally targeting the kids. They're putting like, I'm not talking medicinal, like,
Yeah, not marijuana shops. You're talking about vape shops?
yeah,
That's disgusting how many we have in town.
yeah, I know.
And they're all geared towards the high school.
Yeah.
Intentional. And
I-
that is something. that
Yeah,
needs to be
yeah,
seen.
but Charlie, that's also illegal, you know that, right?
I understand that, Jim, but I'm saying that we're putting together a set of rules here that are applying to.
But what you're talking about is illegal. What you're talking about is illegal. We're talking about a legal establishment.
Let's all, Dan, let's go one at a time. And anyone who wants to speak will be recognized, but we can't go back and forth. We're recording this, so let's have a little, let's just go in order
We
here.
need an
So
ordinance.
anyone who wants to ask a question, just make it known. All right, any questions for Attorney Fitzpatrick? Rocky,
No, sir.
Megan? George?
No.
Mike,
I don't have questions for Attorney Fitzpatrick, but I do have a comment.
go ahead.
My comment is that the zoning commission recently passed their regulation for the cannabis.
Correct.
Establishments. Within 1 week, they received an application for a dispensary. So that being said, because it happened so fast, and since we have to send this to a public hearing, I'd like to throw it on the table for us to consider establishing a moratorium on any establishments being allowed in town until this regulation can be passed.
Well, there is let me back up. I'm against, by the way, I'm against marijuana. But you have to realize that anyone in Arkansas can sit in their home, pick up their phone and have it delivered to their door. it's here now. Anyone who wants it in Naugatuck already has it. To me, it's hypocritical to be against it, but I think we should have very strict regulation. Now, I don't know if the zoning commission went far enough or not, but that's up to them. But right here, we can regulate it, the number of establishments. I mean, I'm good with one. We can, we could be more strict on, where you can or can't, use it. So I'm for a very strict regulation of it, knowing that it's here, and also knowing that the revenue will be used to try and deal with the problem on a broader sense. But it's a problem. Vaping is a problem. And we have to do the best we can with what we have, but we can't stop it. It's here. So to me, a moratorium doesn't work, but I agree with where you're coming from. I just don't think that a moratorium does anything. The damage has been done by the state of Connecticut and other states, so.
Why can't we let them just keep ordering it and getting it delivered then? That's what they're doing anyway.
Well, we wouldn't get the 3% for education. Now, it would be different if the money could go to the general fund.
I
might have
just
a
feel like
different
that's
view.
such a, I get it, it's a business too, but I'm like, in my brain, all I'm processing this as, okay, well, they're getting it anyway, so we might as well just put it here so they can get it, so we make the money for it, and it's just like a circle. Like,
Well, if they don't get it here, they're gonna get it in Waterbury or other towns. But having said that, let's let everyone, I want everyone to speak. We're gonna make a joint decision and, we've got time. This is gonna. I'll put them on.
I like the joint decision.
We've got tonight to talk about it. We can modify what's been presented. It's gonna go to a public hearing. There'll be more comments. There'll be more modifications. And in the end, we'll do the best we can with the hand we've been dealt.
Well, I do have a question for Attorney Fitzpatrick.
Go ahead, Mike.
So that being said, if we do not put a moratorium on this, and the applications do keep coming into the zoning department, zoning commission, how do we disallow it?
Well,
We gotta pass this sooner than later.
right, you have to pass this pretty quickly. My zoning right now it's allowed by special permit, so that's not a guarantee by any means. They have to meet certain criteria in the zoning regulations as a specially permitted use, so that involves consideration of neighborhoods, traffic, access to public
Let me throw this out there. I think what Mike is saying is he'd like to have as close to immediate public hearing as we can and implement a strict regulation as soon as possible.
I like the idea of the strict regulations, and I think we have to do it sooner than later, because otherwise, we're gonna have to develop these established.
Ask Nancy, when, what would be the timetable to set up a public hearing as a prelude to adopting an ordinance?
So you could set the date for a public hearing. I just have to give notice in the newspaper. So you can wait until the April meeting, or you could do a special, a public hearing prior to that.
What do you need for a notice?
Well, I would defer to Ned about that, but generally we just notice it in the Thursday and the Sunday prior to a public hearing. But Ned, do you have anything to add?
Those are the notice requirements. There's no special notice in connection with this particular type of subject.
so if it went in Thursday and this Sunday, then it could be next week,
There's,
because today's Tuesday.
yeah,
Any holidays?
yeah, so Nancy, let me ask the question a different way.
Okay.
Can we be prepared for a public hearing and a special meeting on, March 16th.
Yes. So March 16th, that falls on a
Thursday.
Thursday? Okay, it's a Thursday. That's Thursday next week. So, yeah, so we could notice it in the paper. And why is it Thursday too? That's a higher, distribution of the newspaper, and then a Sunday, of course. And so we could put it in the Thursday and the Sunday, Republican American, and then you can have your public hearing on that the following Thursday.
All right, so, all right, well, let's keep going around the table. And then I'm gonna entertain a motion to have a special meeting and a public hearing on March 16th. Mike, anything further?
No.
Wow.
I'll just state that I'm not a fan. For the fact that personally and within my family, I've seen what drugs and alcohol have done. And so, me personally, I'm drug free my whole life. Okay? And I don't really drink. And if I do drink, it's at a wedding where I'll have a screwdriver or a beer. But other than that, I don't drink. I don't even have beer in my house. Okay, so, and I don't smoke because it's too expensive. So, that's where I'm at with this. And it's more of a personal thing than anything else. And quite honestly, I could give two rat's ass about the 3% because I don't think it's gonna amount to a hell of a lot.
Well, we can't spend it
You know,
on anything.
so that's where I'm at with this whole thing.
Okay, Fran. Well, any questions for?
No, I agree with Mike that we had to do the regulation budgets and you can, go forward with the public hearing as it's written. And we still have the opportunity to tweak it after that.
Right.
And I'm
Jan,
sure will be a lot.
Jan, any further question or comment?
No, I mean, it's here now and the drug lords are getting all the money and it's not doing any good for anybody. So we can get some money to do some good and actually control the potency of this stuff. So I don't get the disagreements. So if you want to change it from 2 places to 1, okay, I can understand that on New Haven Road. But for the rest of it, it doesn't make any sense. It's been around for generations. It's not going away. It's here. It ain't going anywhere.
All right, Charlie.
Question would be to anyone who was on the committee, where did the idea of 2, no more than 2 come from, Fran or Jan?
Because we didn't want 3.
Really, essentially,
Yeah, essentially, that's what.
so it was no like calculating, well, population would dictate.
Well, and also the fact that it had New Haven Road and the industrial park. There was one in the industrial park, one on the New Haven Road, far enough apart from each other. There was no scientific formula. It was originally proposed for 3, and
And, and my comment on this is simply, where there's an absence of regulation, there's chaos. We want regulations in place so there's not chaos.
Right.
So this can be controlled. So we're playing by our rules, not the rules of others. And we need to have the hearing as soon as possible on this. So we have this in place, whether a new dispensary is approved or not, is a whole other issue. This issue here is, we want to make sure we have guidelines in place. I think we really should, and we should move on this as quickly as possible at a public hearing as soon as possible.
All right,
can I make one more comment?
yes.
I think that, as soon as we think of marijuana, as soon as we think of the illegal users and the prior to it being legalized, who was buying the marijuana? We think of, the people on the street buying it from the small time peddlers on the street. And this isn't that, and I'm not saying I'm 100% for the sale, the legal sale of marijuana, but you're not going to get the average, if you will, drug addict going to a dispensary to buy marijuana. You're gonna get, if you want like a responsible, drinker, you're gonna get more of that than you will, a drug addict over there. I don't see that because the cost. They can still buy, a few bags on the street cheaper than they're gonna buy it here. And it's good, and they're gonna buy that because it's less.
May I?
Yes, George.
Just want to kind of piggyback off of what Rocky said, not Rocky, Fran said.
Thank you.
The-
You should both vote.
I'm not 100% for it, but I'm not against it. And the reason being is because at least with these dispensaries, we know where the marijuana is coming. And one of the biggest problems we have right now is fentanyl and things being laced.
Absolutely.
So it is.
Absolutely.
You're gonna, yeah, more and more.
Yeah.
Than you knew, Jeff.
Already seen it. So with that being said, I would much rather it being sold at a reputable place than off the street. And people are gonna get it from a reputable place rather than off the street. Again, I'm not 100% on this, but I'm not against
Okay. I
And
will,
can I make one more comment? Up
yes.
at the industrial park, we're talking about a growing facility. On New Haven Road, we're talking about a retail facility. Two different things. Just remember that too.
I will entertain a motion that we have a special meeting on March 16th, and that we set up a public hearing for that evening on the proposed cannabis regulation as written.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Nancy, so let's set up that special meeting for the 16th. We'll go from there.
Okay,
Motion that the Board of Mayor Burgess approve the appointment of Carlos Antunes, Cliff Street, Naugatuck as a regular member of the Building Codes Board of Appeals. Billing expired term of R. Schmidt, term to expire March 1, 2028. Second.
I'll just say by way of discussion that I miss my friend Bob Schmidt who passed away. Great guy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to the Board of Mayor Burgess award the Town of Beacon Falls ITB 23-1 rehabilitation of Beacon Valley Road Bridge over Beacon Hill Brook Bridge 05364 to NJR Construction, Winstead Road, Torrington, the amount of $307,240, subject to final Connecticut DOT review and approval. Bridge 05364 is located on the town line between Beacon Falls and Naugatuck. Project funding as per the Naugatuck Beacon Falls local agreement, 48.67%. State local bridge program, 25.665%. Beacon Falls, 25.665. Naugatuck, as recommended by Public Works Director James Stewart. Second.
James,
So, this project has been on the books for quite some time.
tell us where the bridge is, for those who don't know.
It's off of, Beacon Valley Road, right off Cross Street. So, this, bridge project has been taken on by, Beacon Falls. We had several bridges in our docket, so, and they were doing, their road down there, so we had them take over. Some time ago, we signed this agreement with Beacon Falls, document that we would pay half the cost. They have applied for a state local bridge program, which pays for 48%. They've gone to bid. and they received 4 bids, the low bid being NJR Construction. They're going to be voting, within a week, I believe, to award to NJR Construction. And have submitted to DOT for their approval. Get the budget.
It's not brick, right?
No, no, what they're doing is they're gonna be restoring the bridge. It's gonna look like it does now, new pavement. The main problem with the bridge is it's a stone rubble, bridge. The barrels are corrugated metal and the bottoms of them completely rotted out. So they're pouring new concrete along the barrels on either side. They're going to fix the rejoint, remortar the joint on the bridge and reattach the tops of the parapets and mill and restore the pavement.
There any, they're not widening it or changing the angle of it or anything
No,
like that? It's
no.
gonna be exactly the same, just.
It's gonna be the same.
Are you the one that's the point person?
easier on that bridge.
I'm the point person for Naugatuck, yes.
Okay, I didn't know if you were gonna be the point person for it all, because Beacon Falls doesn't have a lot of people working.
Right, so that's why we're doing it together.
And one last question, I know it's not bridge related, but they paved their section of Beacon Valley Road in Beacon Falls. When does the town expect to continue that, on the Naugatuck side, because it's kind of rough?
Well, it's on, where is it on the list? We have a list wherever we go.
We paved our section already. And then they're gonna pave that
Yeah.
bridge portion and the remainder of that intersection with the project.
He doesn't believe you.
Our roads are paved. I
Right.
agree with Jim.
That's the Beacon Falls is where the farm is?
Yeah, from
No
right
shit.
across the street from Beacon Falls down to Beacon Manor.
Oh,
Yeah, across the
get
river,
on that.
across the river is only, I can't help you.
Yeah, that's Beacon Falls.
Jesus. That's gotta be like right on the line.
It is right.
That is
Yeah.
the line. It's,
Yeah.
the new pavement in Naugatuck starts at the sign right
Well,
there.
I apologize to you then, because I was anticipating that the section that was done was by Beacon Falls, and I said, what the hell's going on here?
They stopped at the apartments.
Yeah,
They didn't.
yeah, exactly, you're right. Yeah. Geez, I would have thought that would have been Naugatuck right there. No kidding,
Say that again.
Naugatuck.
This is an $84 million project.
Naugatuck, we're gonna have a contest, Naugatuck. I'd say it like he
$84
does.
million somewhere.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, thank goodness.
$307,000.
I was like, where are you getting
So
that?
our entire contribution will be, including design and the studies, they do $139,000. It's currently in our capital infrastructure fund.
Yeah, so this is a good deal for us. Beacon Falls, that's the state grant, so we're getting the benefit of their state grant. All right, any questions on this issue? All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye,
Motion for Burgess authorize mayor Hess to sign all contracts, related documents for the road acceptance of Mission 22 Way as a borough accepted and maintained road from its intersection with Rubber Avenue located at 607 Rubber Avenue, 125 feet in length as recommended by Public Works Director James Stewart.
Let me explain this. So, the bridge, that goes from Rubber Avenue to the Armory has basically failed. There's like a metal plate there. So we applied, to the state, for special bridge funding and a program they have. We were told we are not eligible because the bridge is not on the town road. Well, we're gonna tell them that tomorrow it is on the town road, because tonight we're gonna make Mission 22 Way a town road. That's the plan.
I like it. I'm also like, it goes.
okay, Bob, I second, by the way.
State
Oh.
road.
Well, the only, one of the reasons it's not a road is because it did go to a federal facility. So now it doesn't, so it is a road. It's
Now it is.
not a long road, but it's a road. And tonight is gonna be a town road.
Excellent.
You better get the street sign out there.
And I took the liberty of choosing Mission
Please.
22. We good? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Four members authorize mayor has to execute contract administrative memorandum for contract year one regarding the service contract for the wastewater treatment system capital improvements and asset management as approved by WPCA, the Public Works Director, James Stewart.
Second.
Well, you can explain it, but let me just ask a question first. Aren't these, the terms are set in the contract? Why do we have to approve them every year?
Well, the terms are set by the contract, but the CPI adjusts.
Yeah, but the contract says we have to accept the CPI.
Exactly, well,
I'm not, I mean, I'm for it, we're gonna do it, but I think the point is, we don't have a choice.
you have no choice. It's a way to document that we all agree on the calculation that has been made and the CPI that's been determined. It's simple once the 7-page spreadsheet has been
All
determined.
right, so I'll just explain it this way. The next two items are, part of our previously agreed 20-year contract for the next 20 years at the wastewater treatment plant, where we pay Veolia a fee to operate the plant, and they rent the facility from us to incinerate sludge. Essentially, with some exceptions, it's a break-even operation, and we therefore do not have a sewer use fee in Naugatuck, which is a major benefit for Naugatuck and its taxpayers. Having said that, every year, both agreements are impacted by the consumer price index, and that's already been agreed to. So all we're doing is essentially ratifying what we've agreed to in the 20-year contract that we approved.
Correct.
All right, any questions on item 14? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion, the Board of Mayor votes to authorize mayor has to execute contract administrative memorandum for contract year one regarding the incinerator facilities lease agreement as approved by the WPCA and Public Works Director, James Stewart.
Second.
All right, same discussion?
Exactly.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion, the Board of Mayor Burgess has approved the bid for the contract fiscal year 24 B040 for purchase of golf carts and annual service contract with New England Golf Carts Inc. Massachusetts, as per bid, recommended by Public Works Director James Stewart.
Second.
So, we did have funding in this current fiscal year to get golf carts. We did try to purchase them, but due to all that's going on in this world, they were unable to get them to supply them. So we had to go out to bid again to get a new manufacturing year, so we'd be getting 2023 carts as opposed to 2022 carts. The prices have gone up significantly, another $500 a cart. But the number, so we have 6 in the budget for this year, and we hopefully have 6 in the budget proposed in the budget for next fiscal year. So this bid would cover 12 carts or one order. So obviously, I'd like to order the 6 that we have funding for as quickly as possible, and I'd like to even order the other 6 as soon as possible, because the lead time is so long that we probably won't even see them, even if we order them today, this year.
Is this the same maintenance company that we have
Yes.
now?
Yeah, and this includes maintenance for all the carts.
Are we happy with the maintenance
Yes.
company?
Let me ask you a question. I see that they're gas carts.
Yes,
Is there a reason why we're not using electric cars?
We looked at
And
it.
it's, you know, the whole world wants to go green. I just asked a simple
you know,
question.
No, it's a good question, because we thought about it a few years ago, and there was a significant cost to get the charging facility to charge the cars. And what we were told is we keep our carts so long that gas carts are still worth something. But electric carts are after 3 or 5 years, they're worthless. Because what happens is all the batteries are bad, the batteries are so expensive that you're spending 2-3 grand to get a cart going again. At some point, and as far as I know, they don't have the newer batteries in the carts. When that happens, hopefully they'll last the 10 years that we keep our carts, and then it'll probably make sense to start to transition to that.
So prices difference between a gas and electric car, do you know?
I don't.
Okay, no, I just, you know, I don't care if they're gas cars or not. But I've just brought that up because, you know.
I think I agree
That's a
with you.
good question.
That's,
I agree with you though.
We're not in a perfect world.
No.
They make money.
I don't think that people are gonna get rid of their 1968 GTO and go get an electric car. It's just not happening.
They might put electricity battery into their GPO.
So I doubt it.
It's usually like
Yeah, you know, right?
that. Okay, 67. All right, any questions for Jim Stewart? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to Board of Ambulances waive the bid contract fiscal year 23 B 008 for motor vehicle improvement parts and repair to the Anderson Auto Electric Company, South Main Street, Waterbury, as recommended by Public Works Director James Stewart.
Second.
Jim,
So this is another auto repair company that we've used in the past. They're experts at electrical wiring issues. Also, we've used them for air conditioning. And we really like the ability to continue to use them in the future.
They've been around forever.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
They have.
first of all, I want to apologize to our police officers here for not having moved you up sooner. I'm sorry. Any questions on this issue? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to Board of Mayor versus approve Naugatuck Construction, Olive Street, Naugatuck. Provide goods and or service to be funded with the fiscal year 22-23 as recommended by Police Chief Colin McAllister.
Second.
No?
Just any questions on this? This is to fund repairs to the exterior of the building after we had different drainage issues as well as gutter repairs. There is damage to the exterior, unfortunately, that's stucco that is outside.
You're an approved vendor, right?
Yes, and that's what we need approval. I think.
That's Eureka, this company, right?
Yes, I believe that is.
And are you happy with the gutters?
The gutters are great. This will repair the facade that was damaged, but they can't power wash it. They need to sand it off, repaint it, and then clean it, and hence why it's a little bit more of a complex.
And during the process, not that we're on the same, did you put additional spouts on or downspouts?
Correct, yes. So there's additional spouts. So the drainage has been greatly improved. Street department helped us put some rock down as well as excavating. So this is just basically cleaning up after.
Right.
But this is an approved vendor in the budget. We don't need to approve anything, do
I
we?
was thinking the same thing. They were an approved vendor and I think they are.
Yeah, it's
They're
budget.
a very good company.
That can't hurt to do it.
Different Allison.
All right,
Better to do it.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to Board of Mayor versus approve Atlantic Tactical for Corporate Circle, New Cumberland, Pennsylvania, to provide goods and or services to be funded fiscal year 22-23 as recommended by Police Chief Control, Alan McAllister, and Controller Allison Bruce.
Second.
By the way, Colin, next time, I want you to call to my attention the fact that you're late in the agenda, so I can
We're happy to
manipulate
be
it
here.
accordingly.
Well, we're patient.
Good answer.
I know, it's still, I should have picked that up.
It's all right. So this is, we've been going back and forth. I brought with your training officer and lead firearms instructor, Matthew Silva here. There's a improvement that we can make to our new weapons that includes a, like displayed as a laughter sight, as well as a holster that is required for these. There'll be a modification to our current duty holster, so it's essentially a weapons platform. They've been testing some of these. They've been around in law enforcement for several years. That type of reflective sight is visible on most long guns now in the military as well as law enforcement. However, they've been able to do upgrades to fit them now onto pistols. We've T&E'd them for about a year or two now, Matt, I believe. And we've been having some internal debates whether or not we want to eventually transition to these. However, the tragedy that occurred in Bristol with the Bristol Police Department, in which 3 officers were shot, 2 of which killed. During that 3rd officer, despite being shot, he was able to recover, treat himself, and then use this same weapon platform to fire a single shot and ultimately take out the attacker who had fired on all 3 of those officers. There's still photos of that incident. The actual footage is available online. Having some internal discussions and then bring this forward with Allison as well as the mayor. I will respect the request that this be approved prior to the next fiscal year. Allison had some funding options for us. This is going to give our officers an added tactical advantage out there in the road. Most of our peer agencies are going to it. And anything that can make our officers safer out there on the road and more accurate, I feel is going to be beneficial to the officers.
Does they have like a laser on it?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Show them the red dot.
It's internal red dot, nothing projects. Orange is in there, it's already put out, it's safe, there's nothing inside of it. If you look down, you should be able to pick up a red dot on it. Instead of the officers trying to line up 3 prongs, they can immediately pick up on that red dot. Over the off.
So this has been more effective for like tactical type situations.
Yeah, we're still not gonna shoot.
Stay right where you
If I can. I know.
Anyway, if I shot, I would have shot Jan Museski.
Yes.
You're not gonna go through the computer, chief. Mayor.
I'll vote yes as long as I can try this out.
Is that the price per unit? Or
So it's the price that we're asking for is with the holsters as well too. So they, unfortunately, the holsters have become more complex, the retention system on these, so this is about 100 and. I gotta per unit price, but we buy in bulk, we'll get a substantial discount on these, but these platforms can go up to $200 because. There's security and locking features on these, so if the officers are in a struggle, we can do this.
so you got like one quantity of each item here, and it comes to 562.
So if you go to this,
And then you got your order, 60, 65, et cetera.
this is the
Yeah.
total. But it is, I believe it's 118. Yep, that's it. It's 118. The holster is the price we're gonna get.
Yeah.
And that's the 352 each for the site. So, but this is the retention system. They have to have it in advance one because it has to have it on the way to the site. So, that's what the difference will have.
So let me ask you a question. On this sheet here, they have it in 118.50. Over on this side, they have it at 125.10. Now, another question I just want to ask is, this is based on 1 unit. We're getting multiple units. Is there a discount applied for, 60, 65, and 70 units, it looks like we're giving them the same prices if we're doing one unit piece. That's my question.
The original price, this one was the original quote that I had got, and that price was gonna be pretty different too, obviously the red dots, but I'm not sure why they're showing the 118. The
118 on that side, and
Yeah.
125 on the other.
Oh, if Bob's right, we'll pay a lower price.
yes, yes. But I will, Matt will research that, so find out what the discrepancy.
They were within a month of each other. The market is so volatile, they actually went up a little bit.
Okay.
I'll just
Even
let you
on,
know.
even on a quantity discount or quantity.
They won't give us any quantity. They're getting orders of like 7.
No, I get it. I get it.
I mean, unfortunately, we're kind of the low end of.
We always need to ask the question.
Regardless of what the price is.
And I did
No, I
ask
get
that.
it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Is that leather and Kydex?
No, it's a, like a polymer blend. So, and then the other, not issue, but other observation we'll make is, this is again, the industry standards. So this is essentially, if you're a police officer in North America or anywhere in the Western world, this is how it's used. So with that said, it's unfortunately, difficult to, not to get them, but to, it's like Taser or Axon, they're kind of an inside show. But these have been, they've been recently revamped and made to fit their SIGs products and these SIG sidearms, so it'll be the same class.
Look how these dramatically improve your accuracy there.
Correct. I'll let Matt speak on any specifics.
Accuracy and speed, typically, those that are familiar with firearms, when they're aiming a handgun, there's 2 notches in the back, 1 notch in the front. Their eyes have to look at 3 different things on 3 different planes, their target, their front sight, their rear sight, which takes time, and they have to line them up perfectly. They gotta be flat across the top, they have to have equal space on either sides. What we do with the red dot is their eyes picking that up instantly, and now they can engage a lot faster. As he said about the rifles, we don't even see a rifle on the road anywhere without a red dot anymore. So originally they were just too big, too heavy, and now the technology is there for these. Over the last few years, I started these about 7, 8 years ago. They just weren't reliable. They were heavy, they were bulky. And now we're seeing in the last 3 to 4 years that, this is kind of gold standard. When I started, nobody had a flashlight on their gun 15 years ago. Now I have never seen a department in recent times that does not have a flashlight with the larger holsters and the flashlights on. So, again, this is going to be, it's already going that way. And I think we'll definitely see it across the board. I think that good.
If I can also add into this, this is also is good for public safety. I mean, I've seen body cam videos where, they don't have that red dot and they're, God forbid, they get into a shoot. I mean, they're pumping rounds at the person and missing, or especially in that high adrenaline situation. The red dot sight, it just makes it so much more simplistic, and it's less fine motor skills you need to use. You literally put the red dot on the target and it'll.
We went with the larger dot too. It's called a 6 MOA, specifically for the reasons he's saying, the more motor growth skills. Instead of on the other end, the smaller ones.
They only manufacturer of this particular unit, this company here.
Atlantic Tactical is SIG's preferred vendor.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, if we go SIG direct, SIG will do $1 more than Atlantic.
Oh.
So we have to go through Atlantic. It's just who they determines. I have a great relationship. Well, the SIG vendor we used to deal with just left. SIG rep, he just retired. So I don't know who's running it now, but typically them and Atlantic have a great relationship and they go back and forth. They try to push most of their people through Atlantic. We did some favors for SIG, so they were willing to work with us back and forth. But like I said, that guy since retired, so they kind of asked us to go through it.
You didn't want to get him on the wish app, did you, Bob?
I'm sorry.
You didn't want to get him on the wish app, did you?
I just have two questions. Well, one's a comment. I mean, this unit essentially saved my brother and many other officers that followed that night. But secondly, like, is there additional training, or are the officers pretty much like they can pick these up and they're good to go?
We're gonna do 16 hours in the fall.
Okay, great.
So it'll be 16 hours. I run 1,000 rounds per officer. What it really comes down to is their draw skills.
Okay.
They have a sloppy draw. They're gonna struggle a little more. What happens is they come out, if they're not flat on that presentation, the dot tends to dance up in the windows, we'll struggle to find it. So But that's what's gonna be the really hard thing for us to get over, because fortunately, I got a few people who are still sloppy, no matter how many hours I give them. We're gonna beat it into them one way or another. So, like I said, about 16 hours is what most agencies are using, and I think we'll have about a 95 success rate, which is good, I'll take it, and then the last few will come back out and get a special level of attention.
Just to build on that too, Matt, is getting this now is gonna let us build on that, get some, just plans in place to make sure that training transitions. The time we transition our sidearms, weapons platform, we make sure that it's as smooth as possible, so they can start that groundwork now, rolling out with some more on, high-speed shooter reviews and, get it, kind of work out the team side sooner or later, so we do a full department transfer down the road, and it'll be pretty seamless.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion the board of managers to authorize controller Allison Bruce to refund the following tax refunds approved by tax collector James Scott and Edmund Fred.
Question?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment. Anyone in the room or on Zoom who would like to make a public comment? First call. Dina?
Yeah.
You want to say anything?
Working on.
Okay, so let's stand up. Give us your name and address and,
You know,
and I'll introduce you. How's that? Name and address.
Tina Royal, I live on Woodlawn Avenue here in Leominster.
All right, so Tina is a superstar member of Fran's CERT team.
I'm not in uniform though, sorry.
And she wants to, I'm gonna say upgrade it, give it more things to do, expand our, what our CERT team does, how we interact with our other teams, like ambulance is upgraded, everyone's doing great, we're all working together. CERT wants to do more, and Tina wants to lead the way, and we encourage that. So with that background, how are you making out?
Making out really well. I want to thank you guys for letting me get up here.
We had to pull you up here.
I panicked, so if you see me turn blue, don't worry about it, I'm good.
Tina, just give it like a cat.
I
That's
am.
a short version,
I am right now.
you don't have to make it messy.
Yeah, just
Oh, come
Of
on.
90 seconds.
of what your goals are and what this project is.
We as a team would like to put more into the town than we have. Right now, we're doing a lot of training, a lot of talking, a lot of meeting people at events, but we want to do more for the town. So what we're making a project is, the project is a complete information hub in the town, where all the information of our organizations, our emergency contacts, it's gonna be kind of like a 311, but vocally. Phone, texting, alerts. We'd like to take over what the town does by phone calls that are not emergencies. We'd like to also do that.
So let me stop you for a second. First of all,
But actually, it's much more than that.
It is much more than that.
no, but I want you to talk, did you talk to IT, Jim K? And the
Not yet.
website? But
Not yet.
that should be part of the discussion. That's another place where information,
Yes,
and by the way, we have a new, our destination architect is now live, is that the right term?
Correct.
So there's another spot on our website that basically is a directory for business and events and things of that nature. So you should tie into that. If you want to take phone calls and all complaints, I'll sign off when I. I don't know if it works like that, but I'd be happy to let you do it.
You mentioned some of the organizations that you met with.
That I met with,
Yeah.
I've
That
met
you're
with,
acquiring information from all of these to be a hub for.
Yeah.
all of it.
I've met with, close to 45 organizations within town. There are 460 on our list that are in the computer, not kind of set up yet, but we're getting there. And it's from the Red Cross to, the schools to the Historic Society to the, parent leadership programs, to the Elks Club, we haven't contacted yet, but we're going to, the Lions Club, all kinds of different
You want it
organizations.
to be everything.
Mhm.
You want it to be all inclusive.
Everything. And it's not only gonna be for the CERT team, it'll be for the CERT team because we can give you day to day. We can be there when the town needs us, but also be there when our emergency command needs us. So,
So I'm just gonna say, I'm all in favor of it. It's a big task, but, no one's gonna stop you from, attempting to do as much as you can.
it's a big task, but we as a team are on board. And everybody that I've talked to in town, so far with the schools, with the, health organizations, the Naugatuck Valley Health is on board with it, along with people from Yale that are within town are on
So
board
let
with
me
it.
say one thing for you to think about.
Yes,
In today's world, there are a lot of people who fall between the cracks. And we have a host of social service, a network and
Yes.
people who work together. Stronger coordination of that group
Yeah.
and a place to go to even be directed to that group.
yes,
Is part of what I think you're talking.
yes, we're gonna have links to different organizations. We're going to have a welcome packet for people that move into town. If somebody has a problem, they can contact us and we'll find the people for them to contact and talk to. It's also gonna be youth services. It's also going to be, mental health. It's going to be veterans affairs. So we're trying to fit everybody into one where you're not calling different agencies to find out that you had to call somebody else. So we
Yeah,
wanted
no,
to be
there's
perfect.
a lot going on in what you're saying, so, you have full authority to come up with a plan and then bring it back and I'm sure we'll endorse it, work with you and do whatever we can to make
And
Naugatuck
when I'm
better.
not nervous, I speak better at times.
You did fine.
But I have meetings about twice a week. I also have service organizations that are meeting together as a group. And I've been invited to be on those also. So I can not only talk to just one organization, I can talk to 15 to 25 organizations at the same time.
Without being nervous, right?
Without being nervous. Haven't turned blue yet, so I'm good.
All right, thank you, Tina.
You're very welcome. And I will keep you guys updated also on the way.
Okay, do we have any further public comment? Second call. Last call. All right. Comments? He's not paying attention. John, you're going first tonight.
Hello?
And
Jan?
Yes,
You're first on Burgess comments tonight.
I'm first on Burgess comments tonight. I was very happy to see the town of Naugatuck wheeled excavator putting new catch basins on Woodbine Street today. And I didn't realize it was that big and that advanced. It had a hydraulic hook on it and the whole thing. And I guess if road's gonna get paved early, of course, since they put all that stuff in the street now, it's probably gonna snow. But that's all I got for tonight.
All right, thank you for that report.
There you go.
Rocky,
Yes, sir. Well, she had just mentioned the elks. On Saturday, Lynn Allen is gonna be honored as Elk of the Year. So congratulations to her. There'll be a ceremony at the House Club. And also on Sunday, the 26th at 1 p.m., the Historical Society is having a general meeting. If anybody would like to sit in, it's gonna be at Tully. That's it.
Megan,
Just a few things. I did want to mention our Naugatuck High School athletes that competed in New England this weekend. All performed very well. Specifically our freshman Lauren Cropo.
yeah, so tell us about that.
She ran an incredibly fast time. She landed herself as 6th in New England.
So, but fastest ever in the NBL, right?
Yes,
It's pretty impressive.
very impressive for a freshman. Actually, the girl that came in first out of New England was also a freshman, so that's gonna be fun to watch
Really?
over the next few years. Those two, for sure, but our boys ran very well. And those same 10 kids are competing this weekend in New York at nationals. So that's going on, so great job by the coaches and the kids, they all carried themselves very well, represented Naugatuck very well, so.
Yeah, it's a very impressive group, without question.
Megan, can you elaborate too on how they're getting to nationals and how they got to New England as far as funding goes?
Yes.
You want to help?
Yes, definitely. It's up on a couple of the town pages already. So as far as nationals goes, it is not a CIAC sanctioned event. That said, any money raised throughout the season by our booster club is not allowed to be utilized. They're also not allowed to wear their high school uniforms. So the kids and parents are responsible for funding their own uniforms, their own travel, their own lodging, their own meals. The coaches as well. The coaches do not have a stipend for this. They are doing this out of their own pockets. So we did set up a SNAP raise fundraiser where money can be donated to the
Would you
kids.
send me that? I didn't see it, but.
Yeah, definitely. I can send it out to the board and to Ned. Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Because the kids are all going to raise, and collectively I met with the kids and they all decided to give.
Megan, tell me what number you want Ned to give and I'll.
Megan, make sure you send that to me, will you please? So I can get it everywhere.
I will send it out to everyone.
All right.
And the kids, the great group of kids they are, I met with all of them and they decided to give 10% of what they earned each back to their coaches, because without their coaches, they can't go. So that once that comes in for the kids, they want to donate some back to their coaches, which.
And let me say this, I saw the meet, the NGSL championship, so winning the boys and the girls is outstanding, but more so the coaching staff, the parents, the camaraderie, the kids all pulling for each other. It's a perfect, it's almost the quintessential definition of Naughty Strong. It was I'm so glad I went. It was so rewarding to see it. And,
It's a very different, track's a very different culture and animal than any other sport.
Yeah.
So they work really hard, and the kids that go to this have to qualify. This isn't another coach picks them. This is the elite of the elite that have to qualify to advance on to these levels, so.
all right, thank you.
Yeah.
George.
The only thing I got is I want to congratulate the Naugatuck Police Department as well as the other police departments, including state police, that were involved in that big drug American sting. That was incredible.
All right, so yeah, some of our guys are on the task force.
I just want to congratulate them. Great job, well done.
Thank you. Mike,
No comments.
Charlie.
Kind of piggyback on what Megan was reporting, we have a lot of excellence in this town of our view. And the excellence of the track team and those athletes that have on merit, pure merit, represented our town in New England and now at Nationals. They really deserve the best that Naugatuck has to offer as far as support, whether it be financial or just root for them and letting them know how well they're doing, how well they're representing our town. And in addition to that, we also have a group of musicians. Our high school band has been asked to march in the national July 4th parade. They're trying to raise $25,000 because it's outside of anything they budgeted for. It's occurring during the summers. There's a lot of difficulty in getting the funds they need to go. Most expensive is even the buses to get there.
Where is it?
In Washington DC.
Oh, that's so cool.
And they're marching July 4th in the parade down there. They're having eighth graders, seventh graders join in the high school group to march in the parade. But they're trying to raise $25,000 to help cover their costs. So
I'm
if
gonna
you
ask-
hear anything about that, please support it.
Let me, this is sort of a two-part question, but tell me again what you said about the nationals and the reason why the kids can't wear their uniforms.
Because the CIAC has said that they provide the highest level of competition that these kids need. So anything that goes outside of the above the CIAC, which would be New England's,
What if I tell them to wear the uniforms?
I believe they can be disqualified.
Oh, okay, we don't want that.
So the uniforms are already in the works. The way the fundraiser's working is it's a reimbursement. So all of the parents and the kids are paying upfront, and then when this fundraiser ends, we're going to issue the checks down
So-
to everyone.
So maybe we should have a conversation with the CIAC.
Well, they're clueless.
You ever had a good talk with a wall, Mayor?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah, you see, about
speaking from,
Like
you know,
NCAA.
I wish they would just sit down with any of the athletes that have had the opportunity to go to nationals and ask them what that experience was like, whether they think they provide enough or not. These kids, that's an experience of a lifetime. They're running against kids that they see in the Olympics 2 years later.
Absolutely. I
It's
totally agree.
incredible.
And then on a similar but different note, the notion of the athletic department in general and groups that need money and, you know, it seems like we should investigate a better way to do that, whether there would need to be a 501c3 supplemented by other causes. I mean, for example, the football team needs a sled to the lineman. So we find a way to get it. Probably because they ask me and I help them. But we need a way to expand that to all groups. And, you know, like the band has had such a great record over the years that they need community support, and we have
At the
to
end of
find
the
a way
day,
to
all
get it.
these programs, the track, the band, they're going these places representing the town.
Yeah.
So
When we speak of the pursuit of excellence, which is their motto, there are way more kids at that high school that exhibit that excellence on a daily basis through their activities and through their hard work than there are the troublemakers. Unfortunately, we tend to hear more about the troublemakers than anything else. We have a lot of terrific kids doing some great stuff down there. We had singers and musicians who went to Costa Rica and represented Naugatuck in a foreign country. That's incredible when you think about that experience. And
So
the
where's
sad thing
where's
is,
the
it's-
money for that come?
they had to fundraise and pay out of their own pocket, as many kids do. And I hope that your vision of maybe setting up a 501c3 or maybe tapping into the education foundation, which already exists, to find ways of paying for these things when you start to do, because it's really a tragedy that if we tell a kid from Naugatuck who's excelled and earned something by invitation and by merit, no, you can't go because you don't have the money, that's the saddest statement.
we have kids,
We
you
need to
know,
not allow that. And if we have some apparatus to help that, that's what
So
we need.
I think we all agree, we need to find a way to fix it.
So I got a question. With the whole cannabis thing, doesn't it say something about their youth something or whatever?
You got that right, Kyle.
Pretty sure I read that. Why can't it be used to fund that?
Maybe it can.
I don't know what the hell that is.
The community and civic engagement program, youth programs.
I mean, isn't that considered also considered youth programs?
I would say, in my life, competitive sports were the best education I ever had. for everything.
And I mean, it keeps these kids out of trouble too, you know, it keeps the kids out of trouble. I can speak
So
for,
George, that's a good point. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have it, don't tell us now, you talk too much. I want you to look into it. I want you to look into it.
I mean, I can speak for the coaching staff of the track team, and those coaches
I've
are,
already lost my bet to Jim Kay on the time of the meeting.
those coaches are such role models for those kids, they really are, so.
Too bad we didn't put a money wager on them.
No, it's
Hey.
snacks or
You had a
on
chance.
snack for
You
speaking,
had a chance. All right,
that's all I have.
so everyone's saying the same thing, but we need a plan. All right. Okay, Fran. Did I,
You know, when you skip over that one time with Carolyn, so you wouldn't skip over, I'm glad you did, because I've been one speaking of merit, we have to talk about the
I'll
Huskies.
save the deputy mayor for that.
So I'm gonna jump on the Huskies before he does. I got that opportunity for the first time in my life. Before he does. And talk about merit, the guys and the girls basketball team. Congratulations. They doing a heck of a job and they're not stopping. But, I wanted to mention about the Mary Conley Award for United Way of Northern Government in the fall. It's on March 30th, they're honoring Larry Erickson, for the, I believe it's the Camilla Perugini Trust.
Yeah.
That
Is it, where is it gonna be at Jesse Camille's?
no, it's a crystal room. Jesse doesn't dig it up. But they come March 30th,
Oh, it's just-
just throwing that out there. And of course, it's named after Mary Conley, who
Yes,
was a great,
still is.
supporter of the United Way. When she was active.
I seen her walking in Linden Park.
But she roped me into the United Way years ago, and, she's a great person. And, it's, Larry did, been doing a great job on raising funds and giving scholarships.
Okay, wow.
You know,
You good?
wow.
All right, so I think what we'll do is we'll entertain item 23. We'll take a 8-minute break. And then we'll go into executive session. We'll come out. I'm not gonna predict how long it'll be now, but
So double or nothing with Jim.
we didn't bet. It's not fair, because I can control executive session. I don't have to worry about Attorney Fitzpatrick jumping in and talking to me.
What did you do?
My hand will help you raise money. Cheaper if I stay on.
All right, let's go.
I think 23.
A motion, the board recesses to executive session at roughly 9 o'clock. For discussion on following real estate parcels A, B, C, Y, and Z. Naugatuck Industrial Park, Section 3, Greenfield, Rotary Field. Acquisition of land for downtown parking. Tax incremental financing district, Church Street, Maple Street, DNA Building, Riverview Mobile Homes Estates, 0 Guntown Road, contracts, smart city broadband, recycling, anaerobic digestion, collective bargaining, fire union, street union, chapter 89 union, chapter 90 union, personnel, public works director, and pending litigation, inviting in no one.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? All right, we're in executive session. All right, I'm gonna reconvene the regular meeting at 10:37. So that would be 2+ hours over my prediction.
Over that time.
Duly noted.
All right, so matters emanating from executive session. I will entertain a motion that I be authorized to enter into an employment agreement with Jim Stewart for the term of 3/1/21 through 2/28/24, as discussed in executive session.
Motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, I will also entertain a motion that we hold a special hearing on March 23rd, 2023. To, and to have a public hearing on our proposed tax incremental financing district master plan.
Motion.
Second.
And I'll just note that last night, the planning commission gave us a positive referral for the tax incremental plan, and we need to get that in place. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Last item,
Motion
25.
to adjourn. Second. Oh, it's a shame.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.